Ticho was in town from Salt Lake. I missed the Jazz game. We were supposed to go to the Jazz game together, and then I got sick. But the family went because you brought your whole family out. The two boys. Taught them a little bit of leather working in the shop the last hour.
Put them to work, man.
Yeah, your boys are freaking cute. They're so adorable.
Thanks, man. Thanks. They take after their mom, thankfully, in that regard. But yeah, dude, we had a good time. Thanks for those tickets.
Yeah.
The best part is they were the seats where you get the inflatable things you knock together, right? When the other team's shooting the free throws. And my son was just going crazy. And the Rockets shot like 5 for 12 or something from free throws. I think it was all him, man. It was all him bringing the energy.
That's so fun. I wish I would have gone because we went with Gareth and his girl Casey when they came out, and it was so much fun. But I was literally dying in bed. I was just like, I didn't even see the tickets till like 2 p.m. because I was like, oh shoot, I forgot what day it is, and he for sure needs tickets. Whoops.
That's all good, man. That's all good.
Which Rose Anvil wallet is right for you? If you want something light you can run with, put in a jacket pocket, or you only want to carry the bare essentials, the Claude or the Slim wallet have got you covered. Let's look at wallet thickness and number of pockets. Here's how the Claude and Slim stack up. With 2 pockets each and a thickness of 4.2 millimeters, these wallets are super light and minimal. And the hand stitching and full grain leather make them extra durable. Get yours at roseanvil.com. Up next, a wallet for people who want a little bit more space.
But you just came out for spring break, right? And so you're like, hey, let's hang out, let's talk some boots and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to cover these boots and this brand and just kind of get an understanding of what this is and what the kind of the story of the brand is. And so maybe just kind of walk me through who this brand is and everything. I'll grab a boot and you can grab a boot.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Iron Boots, man.
Yeah.
So Iron Boots, it's a workshop in Guangzhou, China. 6 employees, okay?
Right.
Minimal machine work here, right? These boots are pretty much fully made by hand. Stitching the uppers with a sewing machine, and then everything else they're going fully by hand, hand lasted.
Oh my gosh.
They're even hand sewing the outsoles on, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like this welt stitches hand sewn?
Yeah.
That is crazy accurate for a hand sewn welt.
That's it, man. And
So they use an awl?
Yeah.
And they get it this accurate?
Yeah, they are. The attention to detail that they're putting out is nuts. That's their whole approach is like, we're only sending this out if it's perfect.
Wow.
And they're not messing a lot up.
Well, because they're also not cheap either. Because they're like $600.
Those I think are like $750.
Yeah.
$750 for those. Yeah.
That's part of what I was wondering when I looked at the price. I was like, dang, that's a pricey boot. But knowing like how hand done it is, really makes you appreciate that, right?
I mean, so basically, they're Kai, the head bootmaker. He's super inspired by like bespoke, like high end, like John Lobb Paris, like I went to the workshop and it was like all the kind of like shoes that he had that weren't his own were just like these crazy bespoke, John Lobbs, like vintage bespoke stuff. And so he's basically obsessed with like that kind of quality, and like you'll see it when we cut this thing in half. Like he's not making any, he's not cutting any corners here.
Right.
Like it is, everything's full veg tan, thick, like 6-ounce buffalo leather insole. Like he is going. Like he could probably tone it down a bit, right?
Yeah.
And be able to offer something for less money. That's not what his approach. That's not what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to give you that bespoke, super high-end, experience in a shoe, but he's taking that and he's applying it to like more rugged boot styles and military boots and dress boots and stuff like that, and like that's pretty rad.
That is cool.
So,
well, especially because like everyone's always like, "Oh, China must be crap," because it's like everyone. It's just that stigma from the U.S. is like. Everyone not everyone, certain people assume that anything from China can't be good quality. And so to have someone who's like taking the exact opposite approach, be like, no, we're gonna literally make the best handmade boots in the world in China with a small team of 6 people. Not a giant like shop or sweatshop or anything, it's like a small team of 6 people. That's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the one you're holding right there, it's our collaboration that it's kind of my end of it.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So in so my story, right? Attorney.
Yeah, we didn't even do an intro of you.
Yeah.
Ticho.
Okay.
Yeah, let's plug
I'll
all
give
your
you.
stuff.
All right, I'll give you the whole background on me.
Rundown.
So I've been into shoes forever, right? Like, you know, just sneakerhead as like a teenager, right? As everybody is. Then got a little bit older, was like, all right, I'm gonna be working in an office, you know, I'm gonna got real into dress shoes, right? Mm-hmm. And around the time I was in law school, I found the Goodyear Welt subreddit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm on Reddit, I'm like, oh, people are talking about these shoes, and suddenly found my people, right? First of all, right, you find your people, you're just like, here's the people that I want to be talking with, right? And got real into dress shoes, was real into all this stuff. And at some point, some dude comes on there, this Norwegian guy, okay? And he's like, hey, I found a bunch of my grandfather's cobbling tools at my mom's house. I think I'm gonna start learning how to make boots. So this dude, and like, I don't know that anybody had really done this. This is like 2015, 2016. This is like way back in the day. He just decides, hey, I'm this Norwegian guy. I want to learn how to make boots. Teaches himself how to do it because he's like a talented dude, right? He's just one of those people who he's like, I'm interested in this. I can learn how to do it. He actually had he's a really talented musician. He has like a couple albums of like kind of like folk metal, like Scandinavian folk metal that are actually pretty sick. I have like all of his albums. They're tight. But was like, frustrated by that, like easily frustrated by the like business around it, right? Like very much just like, I just want to do the creative side of this. I just want to, that's my end of it. I'm a creative guy. So he finds a bunch of like vintage Norwegian military boots at like thrift stores, whatever around Norway. And he's inspired. He's like, hey, I'm going to take this pattern, right, that is used on these, vintage boots, and I'm going to update it. I'm going to take a more modern last, a sleeker last, right? Because these things have these big, chunky, square toes because they would actually slip them into ski items, right? So they were built so that you could just pop them onto skis and go kill some Nazis or whatever you got to do, right? And so he takes that, he modernizes it, he goes through Spenlay, which is a last maker, develops this last, and was like, cool. He's off and running. He's just making them, just kind of making them. So I really early on, I got his 19th pair that he ever made.
Whoa.
Because I just was like, dude, this is so sick. This dude is just, he taught himself how to do it, and he's like good at it, like immediately. So he had this like Finnish like moose leather.
Whoa.
I was like, oh, that's cool. And so that was actually the first pair of boots that I ever owned. Yeah, I was all dress shoes. I was all like, maybe I had some bean boots or something, but it was like, oh, dang, these are like these casual boots, like sort of military, but like sleek, right? Kind of like along the lines of like, Viberg's really popular at the time too, right? 2030 last.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, this guy's kind of onto something here, So, whatever. Friends with the guy for a couple years. Got a second pair of boots from him. Super sick, like loving them. And so I decided, I turned 30, and I was like, you know what? Could go to Norway, right? Seems like a cool place to go on a trip. Kind of similar to the trip I did out here to Utah, where it's like, let's just go drive around, look at cool nature stuff, go for hikes, kind of just kick it. That's, that's how my wife, that's what we like to do.
Cool.
So we're like, all right, let's go to Norway. I'm like, look, part of it is we're going to go visit this Norwegian guy. And he's like, kind of a hermit, lives at the end of a fjord, like just the whole thing, right? And I'm like, I don't know what this is gonna be. Let's just go check it out. Stay with this dude. We immediately are just like, just bros, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a photo of us sitting together in a rowboat that you can put up over this. Just like in matching sweaters, like Norwegian sweaters, like instant, just like, kinship of like, we're obsessed with the same stuff. We love boots, seeing his workshop where he makes the boots. He's got all his lasts, he's got all this leather. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And so he goes, you know what, man, like I do this, I can only make like 1 or 2 pairs a month, right? Like it's hard work making these boots, right? He's doing a ton of it by hand himself at the time, right? He picked up a couple machines and stuff like that, but he even can't use them for a lot of the time. They're in his garage. It's like too cold in Norway to run the Soul Stitcher, you know what I mean, for a lot of the year. So he still does a ton of it by hand too. So he's like, look, I would love to find somebody that could take my design that I've come up with, right? The last is, the last that I designed, this vintage Norwegian military pattern, and kind of make them more available, right? Like people, right at the time, he's putting them up on Instagram, and just he would just make whatever he wants, right?
Okay.
Put it up on Instagram and then do a lottery for it, right?
All right.
So sometimes he'd have one pair in one size. He'd have like 75, 100 people trying to buy one pair, right? Which is nuts. So he's like, look, all these people are interested in this, but like I can't figure this out. You know, I can't make 75 pairs. I can only make like 1 or 2 a month. Like, can you help me out? And yeah, pretty much from there started this whole journey of like, how can I figure that out?
Okay.
Right? How can I take this guy's, you know, design, right, and bring it to, you know, a wider audience, bring it to, you know, his whole goal is, you know, kind of spreading this, you know, culture of Norwegian military boots and, you know, and handmade boots, right? And how can we take that and spread that around to a wider audience? So I spent like multiple years trying to figure out who can make these boots, right? Because he's like, look, you can't just go to some factory in, you know, in Spain, in Vietnam, or wherever. Like, you can't just go to some random factory that's just Blake stitching or, you know, whatever. It's got to be, he's, what he said to me was, it has to be better than I make them.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, oh, damn. Like, that's tough, right? Because it not only has to be better, it has to be like, you know, there has to be more, they have to be able to make more of them.
Right.
Right? So a couple years into it, I see this Instagram account pop up. I'm always trying to find new accounts, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Iron Boots USA. I'd heard of Iron Boots before. You know, they had a stockist in Japan. They were making some cool stuff. I'd never handled a pair. I'd never seen them. But I'm like, oh, these guys are doing cool work. They're in China. So, like, maybe the volume will be there. I reach out to the guy running the USA account. Shout out to Chang, who's awesome.
Shout out to Chang.
Great dude. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
Start talking to him. He's like, similar dude, similar age, like loves boots. This is his side gig. He's just trying to promote this like high-end Chinese, you know, bootmaking. He's like, I'm like, okay, man, well, I think we actually have like, we're pretty aligned in our missions here.
Perfect.
Right? And so I was like, hey, dude, I've got this guy in Norway, got these designs, think we could figure something out. And he was like, let's do it. So we sent over the last, sent over the pattern, and like basically said, hey, just whip up a sample, use whatever cheap leather you have lying around, whatever. Got a message back. Yeah, so he'll only make the samples in this like really expensive French calf, right? He'll only make you these samples. It'll be French calf. And we're like, okay, like fine. That's what he wants to do. I'm not gonna say no to a sick pair of French calf boots, right? So he does it, and we're in like to talk to people in China, you gotta have a WeChat, right? It's like you know. So we're all in WeChat, right? All four of us. Me, Lars in Norway, Chang, he's out in California, Kai, he's in Guangzhou. And so we're thinking like, all right, we're gonna send him the stuff, he'll make it, and we'll see where it's at, and you know, whatever. No. He's like, we gotta change all this stuff. We gotta adjust stuff by like millimeters,
That's what
right?
I'm talking about.
You know? And so he and Lars just start like vibing real hard, right? They're basically the same guy, right? They are just like they're kindred spirits, right? So they're just nerding out. You know, sometimes I wake up, right? Because the time zones are all messed up, right? So I'll wake up and I'll be like, dang, there's like 100 messages in here. And it's all about like, hey, we got to change the angle on this curve. And I got to, and then I look, I'm like, oh, I got like 10 messages from Lars. And he's like, this is a vintage, you know, historical curve, you know? And I'm like, well, all right, man, like this guy, he's the one making it. He's saying it's going to fit better, it's going to look better, like, you know? And so it's turned into, right, a collaboration. It's not just white labeling some boots. You know, in China, it's like working with these guys that are, you know, really share the same values and are looking to promote the same things and share those values with everybody.
Dang.
So
that is a crazy story. I did not know that was the full story of it.
Yeah.
So that's where these designs came from?
That's these guys, right? So Iron Boots,
Both
right?
of them?
No. So Iron Boots, right, they have their own, he's putting out his own designs, right? Mostly a lot of like just, you know, vintage military boot stuff too, right? Like they're real similar dudes, right? And
so this is the one that
so this is the Østmo Type 1.
So Østmo is the
guy in Norway.
The guy in Norway.
Østmo. It's the O with the line through it.
Okay.
And I've learned to pronounce it. It's Østmo.
Østmo.
You gotta put a little
Østmo.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a three-way collaboration then, right? Because Østmo, Iron Boots, and you, kind of a trifecta collaboration.
We're all doing it together, man.
That's
like we're
so
all
cool.
we're all on the same team, and we all,
That is a crazy story.
Yeah, so we've released like, I think this will be our 10th release that we've done. Right.
And it's all this pattern.
So far, yeah. So everything's been.
That's a cool pattern.
This Type 1 pattern, right? Which has got this like kind of, we call it the swoop D.
Yeah,
right. We call it the swoop D. We're trying to expand what the offerings are. Lars has developed a second last, so now we're working on developing a second last with him. But it's like, it's not just, hey, we're gonna send you this last, right? He's had the last for a while. He's tweaking it, right? He's changing the last, right? Because we're in Norway, right? If you want to make some changes to your last, you got to go, call somebody in Germany. They're probably not going to answer.
Yeah.
Send them an email. They're probably not going to answer. And like, a couple months later, you're going to get some lasts and like a bill for a couple $100s, right?
Yeah.
In China, he could just go.
Like down the street.
Go down the street.
Yeah.
Make some changes, tweak, whatever he's got to do. It's like way more efficient.
That is such a crazy story.
But yeah.
I did not know that was like the whole story of this.
Yeah, man.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Like these craftsmen from around the world, like passionate people coming together to make like remaking a historical boot. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, man. And what's cool is because he's making everything by hand, is like we can offer a bunch of customization on it. So, we could do cap toe, plain toe, like different hardware, different soles, like, basically you go on the Iron Boots website to order these, and there's tons of, it's basically a made to order boot, right?
Dude, that looks like a comfy last too.
It's a really nice last. It's pretty orthopedic.
Yeah.
It's a combo last, so it's like narrow in the heel, a little wider in the front. The instep is like on the lower end, keeps you locked in really good. It's great. I've been wearing this last for years. I find it really comfortable.
I just love this pattern too, because like I think me, you, and Ben, we love patches. We like all these different like ornate things, and I've really never seen a boot that has that same pattern before.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Yeah, for the Thunderdome this year, I did another sample in this pattern, also plain toe, in some Merriam reverse Rovescio Sego, so like a reverse horse butt.
Oh yeah.
And you just like, you send over some leather, and you're like, hey, yeah, we order all these samples, right? And then let this guy cook. So he sends back the craziest clicked boot I've ever seen in my life. It's got these like crazy striations on the vamp. It's got like,
you're making me jealous.
And it's like, and so then we hear it's like, he's only going to use the shell portion of these these hides, right? So he's like, already it's pretty expensive leather, and he's just only cutting the choicest bits out of it and then pieces them together. It looks super cool. I can send you pictures of those boots you can put over that.
Yeah, we'll put them in the background.
And those are pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. I went over to China last year.
Oh right, yeah.
Because like as soon as they kind of opened up, right, I was like, right, because we've been working on this for all during the pandemic, right?
Right.
The entirety of it, where it's like sometimes they get locked down, and we'd be like, just not gonna hear anything for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And you're just, who knows? And so as soon as things got opened up, I booked a ticket. Was like, I gotta get over there. I gotta see the workshop, right? Because that's the one thing, right? Everybody's in China, who knows what it is, or whatever. So it's like, all right, like I felt pretty confident in what these guys have been telling me, the photos I had seen, and like obviously the work coming out that I had handled. I was like, this is obviously exceptional work. I get over there, it's like the hottest, most humid place I've ever been in my life. Guangzhou, China, man. It was like 92 degrees, 100% humidity.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like just sweating through t-shirts left and right, like just like butt sweat coming out of my jeans. Like it was intense. But every single person in the workshop, they got a big fan pointed right at them.
Yeah.
Like everybody's they're taking care of everybody the best they can, and like it was crazy just seeing them doing this work, and just it's like, it's quiet, right? You go to a factory, it's loud, right? You got all these machines going. You go to their workshop, it's quiet.
Because it's just the 6 of them, right?
It's just 6 people working.
And mostly hand
working
done.
by
like
hand.
The hand sewn. That's the thing that blows me away. Is like, I cannot believe that they hand sew this well. That is like, it's so precise.
Yeah, like
it's
even
crazy.
right. That the hardest part too is making it look good on the bottom.
Yeah.
Even the bottom looks real neat. Like, Yeah, this guy's attention to detail and just like focus on every aspect of these boots is crazy.
Dude, you sold me on this boot so hard. I want a pair so bad now. Cause like, yeah, the last looks super comfy. I like the story. Cause what is the boot that it's based off of?
It's based on those vintage Norwegian military boots.
Is it from like a certain era? Is like World War II?
I think it's like World War II era, yeah.
Dude.
So like, if you go on the Østmo Boots Instagram, right, he's got some of them posted up, and they're these big, like chunky, like square toes, so you can pop them into ski bindings. And he was like, yeah, obviously nobody really needs that anymore, and so he took the pattern that it had and like modernized it, right?
Okay.
And used the sleek glass that he designed kind of for his own feet, because he's like kind of a low volume, low instep dude.
Hey, good.
And it's like, hey, it's hard to find something that's gonna really hug you, the right way. And like we have it in a DE combo, right? Which is the original. It's like, for low volume people, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have an EEE width for like people with a little more volume. So.
Did you record any content while you're out there?
In China?
Yeah.
I mean, not really.
You should have. I would have loved to seen like some stuff from that.
I have photos and stuff for it.
Okay. I guess it's hard to do an interview for.
Kai the bootmaker doesn't speak any English at all.
That's
yeah. He doesn't. I mean, I was there with Chang, so like I at least had him to interpret and stuff. But
dang, dude, that's such a cool story. I'm a sucker for stories. Like if there's a cool story attached to stuff, it just makes me want it so much more.
Well, that's it, man. It's like you could buy there's lots of cool boots that, right? Like these things, right? Like these ones are $875. They're not cheap, right? And this is like the least expensive pair that we can put together for this. And it's like, there's plenty of places you could spend $875 on a pair of boots.
Right.
And it's like, well, to me, I want that backstory, right? I want somebody to look at my boots and say, hey, I like those boots. And you're like, well, there's this guy in Norway.
Yeah.
And he's found his grandfather's tools.
Yeah,
And like sometimes people, their eyes glaze over, and other times people are like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. And if you light up from that, I'm like, we're going to be homies.
Yeah, we're homies.
We're homies. Life. We're homies if you like that. Because that's what I like.
I think that's why me, you, and Ben get along so well, because we're all just like geeking out about this stuff all the time.
Yeah. Dude, the stories behind, just making high-end boots, making handmade boots is like a crazy endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy that anybody's still out there doing it.
Right.
And if you're doing it at a high level, like that's just it's insane. It's insane in 2024 to be doing that. I mean, they're making these boots the way people made boots 150 years ago.
Dude, that's the crazy thing about heritage boots that I love so much is it's one of the only things that we still use on a regular basis that was designed like 200 years ago that still hasn't really changed and is still at like the peak performance.
Yeah.
When it comes to like some of the finest handmade bespoke stuff, it's all done in that same traditional way. The hardest working like work boots are still done in that way. And like there's obviously like more comfortable like modern stuff, but to get like the highest quality and the finest, you're still using techniques from like 200 years ago.
Right.
It's so crazy. That's why I love like, because it kind of mirrors the whole story, or like the story of heritage goods mirrors the story of leather to me, because leather is one of the only materials out there that it's almost as bad as it gets when you first get it. Mm-hmm. And then over time it gets better and better and better, and it peaks way down the road. And then I would even say it never gets as bad as it was when you first got it. And so it's almost like that classic investment thing where you have to invest time and energy and your like body into this product to actually make it work.
Right.
And it's such an old school like way of thinking about stuff in a modern era where like we can just like Amazon stuff straight to the front door in like half an hour here in Salt Lake. Not really, but like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Or like everything's so fast and so like to have some things that have somehow made it over 200 years, that stuff just blows me away.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, the idea that like, all right, I'm going to order a pair of like $875 boots.
Yeah. And
they're not going to show up for like 3 or 4 months, right? Which is like, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty tight turnaround, right? Like, and that's kind of where this guy's at, 3 to 4 months right now. It like, as it gets more popular, right? That's only going to increase, right? And it's like, okay, so now in order to do that, you got to get your mind wrapped around the idea you're going to spend this money right now. you're not going to get anything in return for like a few months.
Right.
And then you're a couple years away from the boots really being at their peak, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about breaking, you got this 6-ounce buffalo leather insole that is going to be under your foot for potentially forever, right?
Yeah.
Like that's only going to get better and more comfortable the longer you wear them. The more wear you put into them, the better they're going to get. Like, you know, we're tending to move towards using more like thick, heavy-duty leathers, right? This is like 7-ounce oil tan.
Yeah, it's a hardy leather.
It's thick, man. I mean, this is like you could get this on Whites, Nicks, whatever.
Right.
And it's like this, you know, for a pretty dressy casual boot is like kind of intense. But like, you know, we're trying to think like, how can we make something that's gonna last, right? And like that, historically, that's the way people were making boots. That's the way Lars's grandfather was making boots, you know?
Dude, this story is killing me. That's such a cool story. I had no idea. Dude, let's cut these in half. Let's get into the actual like main channel video. So let's do like a little outro, plug whatever you want to plug, your Instagrams and your stitch downs and all that, so that people know where to find you.
Yeah, Ticho Blanco shoes on Instagram. I just post pictures of shoes that I take. I like photography. I taking pictures of shoes. Stitch Down Shoecast. If you want to just hear me and Ben talk about boots and interview people
hard.
And just geek out about like, you know, the most obscure parts of this whole hobby, this whole thing. You know, you can follow Lars at Østmo Boots. Follow Iron Boots at Iron Boots USA.
What if someone wants to buy one of these?
And if you want to buy some of these, it's Iron Boots.
IronDudes.com.
We sell the collaborations through IronBoots.com.
Cool.
And pretty much anytime you watch this video, we'll have some kind of release up. But there are pretty much monthly. We put one up, and then when we've run out of the leather that we have allotted for it, that's it. We'll probably rerun some stuff, or you know, whatever. At some point, we're gonna run out of things that we're still just like nerding out about. Like, what if we made it in kangaroo leather? What if we made it in buffalo leather?
That's so fun.
What if we made one in like natural horse butt? You know, like, you know, we're still at the point of like we have a ton of ideas. We're all nerds about this stuff, so we're like, what if we made it out of deer leather? You know,
that's so cool. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. I want to find this cool story to be a part of something like that. That's so sick, dude. Congrats. That's such a cool story. Okay, let's get to the cut in half. Let's do that video.
Let's do it.
So if you're watching this, go over to the main channel and watch us cut in half, because this will be on Rose Anvil 2. So thanks for hopping on the mini interview for Rose Anvil 2, Ticho.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. That's cool.
See you guys.